All right, welcome everyone to another episode of the Strive for Good Life podcast. My name is Nino Pinguera, and I'm here with Trevor Davis, who is a freelance copywriter. Got lots of fun things to talk about today, so welcome to the show, Trevor.
Thanks, Nino. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Excited to get into, your background and lots of cool things that you're up to now. So let's just start at the beginning with, what the early influences were in your life that got you into business, and, how do you start pursuing copywriting?
Yeah, copywriting was probably something I didn't expect myself to get into. But early on in, I guess, me becoming an entrepreneur was always something I generally had interest in. Growing up, seeing my dad as a freelancer, seeing the lifestyle that provided him and be with the family as we were growing up as kids was always something that felt compelled to be able to follow steps in, and had various pursuits and interests in different entrepreneurial ideas growing up through high school, university, and only really fell into copywriting by chance of events and how the journey unwinds. But yeah, never thought I'd see myself being a copywriter. Never loved writing in English class. I was kind of afraid to show my work with the world, but fell into copywriting as a natural eventually down the road.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. But I want to go back to, you mentioned your dad was a freelancer. What kind of freelancer was he? What did he do? And how did that influence you?
Yeah, nothing, I guess, entirely related to marketing and where I've fallen into, but he had been the guy in the truck outside of any sporting event, directing cameramen to take the shots, to see what we see on the TV back home. Sports television producing and directing was his world, and got exposed to, I guess, a little bit of being behind the camera, or seeing what it was like being behind the camera, and that helped me get more comfortable being in front of the camera. But just seeing his transition to freelancing, be able to be spending more time with the family and to be able to have more of a lifestyle, that seemed pretty fitting for him to be able to get into other online business pursuits and other projects and things that were interesting and exciting. Definitely planted a seed for me, and being able to do the same with the lifestyle that I'm working on developing myself now.
Okay, so it was really the lifestyle that was alluring for you to want to go out on your own then?
Yeah, I think lifestyle first kind of focus has always been my philosophy of getting into business for myself, being able to see how I can create better quality of life for myself and loved ones around me, and of course through the service that we do in our work as well for the clients, and being able to see his name on TV and being able to see the sports that he was able to bring to people across the world, was always something that was also very exciting to see. The impact of a small team in a truck, with my dad leading that, could be taking the sports around the world that we like to be able to watch from home. So that was definitely a mix of lifestyle and impact, and seeing the work results as well.
Yeah, impact. That's it's a cool thing to think about, because working a corporate job, you just feel like another cog in the wheel. It's hard to see the impact, but when you're your own boss, when you're driving results for people, it's direct. You see it immediately, and that is very gratifying. So I love that you bring that up. Let's talk about how freelancing really came about, because it sounds like it wasn't what you intended. Sounds like you weren't planning at all to get into that. So what led to that eventually?
Yeah, well, I knew I wanted to get into some form of entrepreneurship in business for myself. Never knew it would turn into freelancing necessarily. Definitely not in the copywriting and the email marketing world that I've gotten into today. But the digital nomad lifestyle was probably what also, again, it was lifestyle first kind of driving me into this path in this regard, and the type of business model that I found myself in after being in a corporate sort of government office environment through university when I was working at the government of Canada for a student job. And I remember on day one, an old timer there told me, "You hit the lottery, kid. You're going to be in here for life." And I remember that scared the crap out of me. And while it was a great experience working there, I knew it was definitely not for me. And it led to me planning for my semester abroad after that, and getting into learning all kinds of things while I was working there, through podcasts and other means. And that's where I discovered digital nomad life, and finding ways that I could find a business model that would fit into that lifestyle that I could take with me abroad. And after coming home broke after 9 months in Europe, I quickly started on that pursuit and set the vision by the end of that year that 3 years later, I'd be able to step into this lifestyle and have something going for me with business for myself to support it. So that was really where the seed was planted and where things all began for me.
Okay. So maybe, for those listening out there that maybe don't understand copywriting fully, like maybe we should do a quick overview of what that entails and why it's important. So maybe explain that to us real quick.
Yeah, maybe just to, I guess, tell it through the story of where I fell into copywriting was, through the agency I started working at when I got back from my time in Europe, I, started getting into sales over there. And after driving across the country, doing a sales road trip, coming back, taking on a new role, calling people, at home during the pandemic early on, and seeing that no one wanted to pick up a sales call. No one wanted to be interrupted from their day, with work at home. They had enough things to juggle. But I found that when I started writing emails to reach those people at right times of day with the right message, I started getting a lot more responses, and I started booking a lot more sales and getting a lot more commission. And that really planted that seed again for the persuasion, the influence, all the foundational human psychology elements I learned in sales. I could transfer that into the written word. And that's really what copywriting is all about, to be able to take, your writing that is driving people to take action, whether that's to a checkout page to buy a product or a service, or to take them into, taking action to sign up for a list or to download a lead magnet, anything of that nature. It's getting them to take action. And it was really fascinating for me to be able to take all that I learned in that sales experience and putting that into the written word. And I think copywriting is cool because it's, something that you can do from wherever in the world. It doesn't have to be synchronous on a call. Your landing page is up there live 24/7. Your copy that you wrote once can be there to continue to nurture people, bring people in. A great email sequence can continue to nurture your leads through the ages, and it doesn't have to be something live like a single sales call or something of that nature. So that's copy in a nutshell, and what really fascinated me about it when I got started with copywriting.
Right. This is such an important piece that a lot of people don't realize, and I try and explain it to people by outlining or having them imagine what it's like to get caught up in a really good book. Right, you just get sucked into it, and you want to keep reading, and you want to find out more of the story. And copywriting for business is essentially the same thing, but instead of wanting to learn more about the story, you want to buy more. You want to consume more products. And so it's so powerful, and I don't think people realize or fully appreciate, the power of it. And so, that's why there are people like you out there that, drive conversions and help people see the power of it. So I'm glad that we get to talk about this important topic. Let's talk about actually building that business. Like, how did you go about getting clients and growing that?
Yeah, for me, I had started off actually through my first coach I ever invested in as my first client. I was, unclear on how I was going to get to this vision, make this lifestyle possible, and I knew I had to start somewhere. But I had first bought a course about writing emails to do some affiliate marketing. Didn't feel very aligned with that whole model, hiding behind the screen just to go and sell products, especially if I didn't believe in them. So I took that kind of foundation, and then I found, my coaches, they need some help with writing copy for their email sequences. And I had some background in writing emails in my sales role and in my past work in this affiliate marketing stint that I had. And they were excited to support me in being my first client. So that was a good first step, getting a good, testimonial, some good results for them in the copy that I wrote. Was a great kicking off point for me, and kind of seeing my journey kind of come into fruition as a freelancer. And I guess the rest has been history since then, going through word of mouth and developing more clientele. It was definitely a bumpy ride, and the dry spells that sometimes is the life of a freelancer, and building up to where I'm at now with more retainer clients and more of a steady business. But it was a wild ride, and a lot of good learning along the way.
Yeah. Okay. So primarily word of mouth. I mean, you got your start with, that's pretty cool that you hired these people to coach you, and then you ended up working for them. That doesn't happen to a lot of people, I feel like. But very cool that you got your start that way. What have been some of the challenges? So like obviously, with copywriting, it's pretty straightforward as far as the business model. So I don't know if like on, the technical side of running a businesses, there were probably too many challenges, right? But I imagine just getting the word out there more, trying to build up the volume maybe that you were doing quickly, or I don't know, what would you say as far as challenges in the business?
Yeah, I mean, I would say aside from the challenges of actually getting started in the first place, it became clear to me that I had to kind of either choose. I learned you can either niche down or you can specialize. I can either be a general email copywriter who writes great email sequences for all kinds of businesses, and having that as my sort of focus and my specialization, or I can be super niche where I only write all kinds of copy, but for all only SaaS businesses or only for e-commerce businesses. And that kind of evolved how you might get into the model. If you were selling e-commerce where your copy directly related to sales, you could have more revenue sharing models and getting into things like that. I went the route of working with people that I enjoy working with, which in my case were coaches, freelancers alike, agency owners, service-based businesses. And after my experience in email, I kind of went for both, finding a balance between being specialized in email marketing predominantly and also being specialized with a niche focus of coaches and service-based businesses. So that was kind of my starting point where I decided to, pick and choose. But, early on having to battle those kind of inner challenges of, well, I want to do everything for everyone. And you realize quickly that you're not going to be able to take on enough work to make that work and to be able to charge enough for it. So quickly had to learn to, stick to one thing and evolve from there. And, the classic line, we call it niche up here in Canada, but, the riches and the niches, hearing those kind of expressions, ring more true for me to go deep in one area. And, that let me kind of build a lot of great relationships with coaches and develop from there. And then similar challenges when I reached full capacity. Well, how was I going to evolve from there? Was I going to have an agency model and move into having other writers that I could subcontract to? And when I started down that path, some people said, well, I can't afford those services. So that kind of also started me off into copy coaching when people said, well, can you just teach me how you write copy? And can I do this myself? So yeah, it was cool just from going one avenue with one model, kind of evolved to that model as well, where I've done copy coaching. I've worked with freelancers who've written copy as part of team projects as well, and been the main single person show behind the business as well. So yeah, it's been fun to go through those different evolutions and definitely some challenges along the way and making them all fit, sticking to the path.
Yeah. It's not easy for anyone, right? Especially when you have to narrow down and you have to figure out exactly who you're targeting. There are some challenges there for sure. But it's incredibly valuable, like you said, because then it gives you clear focus on who your client is and how you can serve them. So incredibly important. Since you mentioned that you've coached others, it'd be fun to get into what kind of things you coach people on. And maybe just, maybe we can break down copywriting a little bit for people out there that want to get started and want some, easy tips, tricks, things that can help them improve their copy already. So where would you start with someone?
Yeah, I mean, when we were looking at coaching, I think it was also more natural for me to fall into that because I had experiences writing copy where I could have a great, written headline, amazing body copy, an awesome email sequence. But it turned out their offer didn't really align with the audience at all. There was no alignment. They hadn't done their research up front. They hadn't tested things. And I was writing great copy for what was not a good, product market fit. So that's kind of where I said, okay, well, with our coaching, we got to start from the beginning, really. And that's where I got into, things that are exciting me more nowadays with, helping craft offers, helping, develop the general, program development and the strategy for the businesses. Because I think it's so important to have those foundations down before you go and try to master writing good copy, because that's the biggest thing I've learned through sales, copywriting, marketing, and being in business. For ourselves, we learned you got to know how to align with the audience and putting the offer in front of them and really understanding who is that target persona, who's that avatar, and having built that out with clients has been something that I've really enjoyed. And then we can get into the foundations of copy, right? I think it was always intimidating for me getting into writing because it seemed like it was bringing out all the past worries I had about writing in English class. But it's not about writing. It's really just about building. It's building blocks, putting things together in a structure that works. And there's so many great copywriting frameworks and formulas that you can just follow and plug and play your copy into those, which makes things a whole lot easier. And you need to really remember some key principles for elements of these formulas, and those can really help make your life writing copy that much easier if you've got these good foundations down. So happy to run through some of those for listeners, if that'd be helpful.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, what kind of frameworks are we talking here, and maybe what are those blocks specifically that are important?
Yeah, I mean, just general principles, which I think apply, trying to remind myself as I'm, blabbering on with answers here, is always remember to be, clear over being clever, right? Being concise and clear, being able to communicate in such a way that's going to be actually easy for people to understand when they quickly go to a landing page or they quickly go to a sales page and they can see your headline and it resonates with them, and you've done your research and you're communicating in a way that's going to really align with that audience. And then you can plug in some frameworks like, a simple thing you might see on a landing page or on a sales page would be the PAS framework, for instance. That's a tried and true one, which is problem, agitate, and solve, right? If you've seen the classic sales page structure where you see someone, call out a big problem that they might be having in some way, shape, or form, the body copy might go and really draw out more of the pain points of that problem. And then you go through and see how their offer, their product is that solution to really help them overcome those problems. Same thing you'll see with the AIDA model. You see that framework where people go grab someone's attention with a potentially clickbaity headline, right? You see this whether it's an email subject line, particular ad. You get their attention with the quick headline that reels them in, and then you pull in their interest, the second letter in that, and then draw out their desire and hopefully generate some demand at the same time throughout the body. And then, your final call to action. Of course, always need a call to action, hopefully just one to keep things again clear and concise, whether that's in an email or in a particular page that you're writing copy on. But, I think these are some of the key foundations that, ring true. Using stories, that's our oldest human technology, writing like a human. No one wants to hear, AI generated, just generic copy that sounds like it was just either written by a robot or even worse, being corporate and stuffy sounding that doesn't resonate with people. And appeal to the readers, right? Appeal to their ego. Enough about you and your story. Talk about what when they're reading about it, and get into their shoes and really understand your avatar, the audience that you're writing to. I think those key basic points right there, with a few frameworks and formulas to build on, you'd be off to the races and writing great high converting copy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's so much easier said than done, right? I mean, I know it is. So, when you say it, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But then actually putting words to paper and making that happen is another story entirely. Maybe, I'm curious to know a little bit more about the psychology from your perspective of the way that these words entice and, help people convert to sales. So, is there anything you can tell us about that? What's happening on the psychological level with some of these frameworks?
Yeah, well, I mean, thinking about what I've learned when I started out in sales, it was the same sort of, key pieces, books. So I have on my bookshelf about, influence, about psychology, about understanding, the power of persuasion and understanding human behavior. At the end of the day, what a copywriting framework is translated into, which is why it's so beautiful. It's really just putting in those building blocks, right? Look at the AIDA formula, right? People want to be finding solutions to their problems. I mean, this is something that we all know. That's why we get into business, trying to help solve people's problems and help give them value. I think when you have certain headlines that use power words that might really ring true, something just call on some of our human psychology. It's been a while since I've dove into the literature on it and really studied the basics. It's just kind of ingrained in how I write and create copy these days. But with certain power words in the right target audience too, like they will find that those words, they've seen them, they've heard them. These are trigger words almost for them that will catch their eye, will stop them scrolling. We'll bring them in, and if exactly the pain points that are keeping them up at night, like who doesn't want to feel like they are really understood, right? As human beings, we all want to really be understood, like meeting our core human needs. At the end of the day, if you can check those boxes, providing certainty throughout the copy that you've solved the problem before, you've got case studies, testimonials to help with that, really keeping people off guard because you've put the objections up front and what kinds of things they would think are unbelievable about this offer. They don't think they could have their problem solved. and then you dismantle those, you address those objections early on, you calm people's nerves down as they read through the copy, and you keep reeling them in with stories that are, again, humanity's oldest technology in storytelling and exchanging. Communicating that way makes it seem, like you're someone that can be trusted. Hopefully that's the case. We all have to do business with those we know, like, and trust. Hear that time and time again. And if you can convey all that to your copy, and you can pull on some of those, strings psychologically, so to speak, in an ethical and authentic way that people really resonate with, you're going to be feeling like a friend by the end of, that piece of copy. You're going to be someone that they can feel they can trust and learn more from. And if you're able to, give them some value, educate them, and disarm their worries on what it might be like continuing further through that copy, you're really checking a lot of boxes on how to communicate well and basing it off of our core kind of psychology.
Yeah, I love that. I especially appreciate that you bring up the importance of being ethical in that, because there are manipulative marketing tactics and people that exploit that, and so obviously you got to be honest, and you got to be able to deliver on your promises, with whatever you're saying. So I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about,
of course, it's important.
Yeah, let's talk about email marketing, because there are a lot of people, I know how powerful it is, but there are a lot of people that would argue that, no one uses email, or, it's like, why would I put my marketing dollars into that? What would you say about that?
I would say, think of any day we've seen with people going up in arms with the social media algorithm change, or that one day last year, or whenever that was, that like Meta, when they were still called Facebook, went offline for like a brief stint, and everyone, thought things were going, down, and that their marketing avenues were going to get thrown out the window, and all they've invested in it were tossed away. You don't own your audience on social media. You don't own, how the algorithm continues to work for you in driving, value to your content or your ad dollars, but you own the email list. You own the email addresses that are, subscribe to your list, and that you're able to connect with people directly there, no matter if, Facebook changes their algorithm, or if, YouTube bans, whatever happens on social media, you always have email as your core platform that you can always communicate with people. And I think that, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head right now, but like the highest percentage of conversions really do happen through email. You might get the most engagement on social, you might get the most interaction, but at the end of the day, people might go and like your stuff, might comment on your stuff, but they're only going to really exchange dollars for the most part through a platform like email. So email marketing is not dead. It's still tried and true. I think we've been seeing email newsletters, which is an exciting space I've been jumping into, on the up and up. They're on the rise. People want to get more valuable content directly in their inbox, instead of just being custom tailored to them by the algorithm of what the algorithm says they should like. So those kinds of things, we're seeing more and more trends for email to still be holding a strong future, since its start all before all things social media.
Yeah. I know it's the tried and true method. It's been proven over and over again. All the stats say that it's the highest converting method of marketing. So for anyone listening out there, if you're not doing email marketing, you absolutely need to be, so get on it right away. But maybe we can get into some tips and tricks when it comes to email marketing. What do you suggest? Because a lot of people starting from scratch don't know, like, well, what do I send to people? I don't want to just spam them with offers constantly. So what does it look like to do email marketing well?
Yeah, great question. I think that at its core, you're really thinking about the same things we talked about with copywriting. You're just using it as a platform to continue to add value, to continue to build a relationship with the people on the other end of it. You do the same thing on social media. You can just do some more intimately with email, and have it personalized with their first name in it because they've signed up with it, for instance. But really, no, at the end of the day, you have this sacred space where people are one click away from unsubscribing, and you don't want to be spamming them with offers that go and drive them off. But at the same time, they've signed up to continue to learn from you, to get value from you. Hopefully you've impressed them, from the beginning with a good lead magnet, if that's how they signed up, or in the value that you provide itself through the email newsletter. And that's why people sign up to continue to read and learn from you. But at the end of the day, I think if you have them on there, you've ethically brought them onto the list through some value exchange that you've offered in exchange for their email address, then they're going to be excited to learn from what you have to share. So sharing authentically, honestly, in ways that you know you can add value, will hopefully continue to nurture that relationship. And, keeping things in mind, like, only one call to action per email, like we said, keeping it clear and concise, having great, use of power words and, foundations of good headlines in your email subject lines, right? Because it's only going to matter. Again, back to the foundations of copy. Your only goal is really to get people to read from one line right to the next. So all you got to do is get them to open that email with a good subject line. From there, the first line in your email, just to get them to keep reading the next one. And if you, do that well in the way that you're writing, you're going to get them to the bottom of it. And maybe that's a call to action, or that's to book a call, to buy a product, or whatever it might be. Even if it's just to go and, engage with some of your other content and to stay in your world, there's every opportunity through email to build that trust, build that relationship further, and hopefully, turn that into some conversions and supporting your audience through turning them into clients as well.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you say that your goal is to just get people to read from one line to the next. So I imagine that you got to create curiosity, or like, how do you really do that?
Yeah, again, we for example, those two copywriting frameworks we introduced, right? The problem, agitate, solution, right? That framework, you're going to be able to take your subject line that might be calling them out on a problem, that they want to overcome, like, how to XYZ, solving whatever particular problem they might be having, right? That you've studied the audience, they might be having that problem. You figured out ways to solve it. Okay, that's going to reel them in. You got them in. Now they're reading the email. Well, what are you going to hook them in with? You got to continue to agitate that. You're going to continue to reel in their interest and create desire through that body copy, right? Maybe that's storytelling. Maybe that's talking about a happy client, using testimonials, using your own examples, making it interesting and exciting in a way that make them want to keep reading, sharing tips, sharing value on this how-to that you've promised from the subject line, right? Showing them that they're going to get value if they keep reading, and reeling them in through that, again, to the point where you can then show them how you can solve it for them, how you've solved it for others. And, it's a natural flow if you do it with this framework in mind, while not, making it seem like it's too copy and pasted, just got to fit it into the formula, but making it flow in a way that sounds like you, that's authentic and human. That's always important.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing all these tips, because I think this is really valuable stuff for people. Like I said, email converts way better than anything else. So you need to dial in your emails, make them sound good, make them attract people. And all this stuff helps do that. So thank you. In terms of, because you've mentioned a couple of times, you don't want to sound like a bot, some AI, but AI is really powerful these days. So where's the balance of using AI versus trying to make it sound human and natural? How do you accomplish that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's been really a mission of mine since I, jumped into all things AI, even before ChatGPT, testing out, some of the leading tools like Jasper back when they were called Jarvis AI, and really exploring, wow, like these tools can write some decent sounding copy. And they even have pre-made templates using these frameworks, for example, these copywriting formulas. But if you don't give it enough input, you get really generic robotic sounding output. And that's really what I've learned, where I've ditched all these tools that have their pre-made platform formulas, and I really just gone deep on ChatGPT. Using GPT-4 on a Plus account at this time of recording has been the most impressive way for me to really get copy that sounds like the person who we're trying to sound like, that resonates with the audience that we really want to convey what we're trying to speak to them on. And that is through the basic way to put it is, if ChatGPT, if any of your AI tools, it was a team member you were bringing on and you were going to teach them how to write, you're going to teach them what you needed to know about writing that copy, they would need to know everything about that audience. They would need to know everything about your offer, everything about what you're really trying to communicate about you, your background, your story. And as much of that as you can put into a prompt for ChatGPT is what is going to give you the best possible output. So I have pages on pages of prompts that I put into one message just to get a single output from ChatGPT, because it makes that much of a difference when you put in that input, when you put in that background for it. Then you really see a powerful output. And that's been what's changing my own definition of what copywriting is, and how I'm no longer necessarily even identifying as a copywriter as much as a lot of the work is in the prompt engineering and doing the research and really understanding the audience, because without that, you're just going to get flat copy that doesn't resonate. So that's what I've found is important to balance the two out for sure.
That's amazing. Yeah, it sounds like it's almost an art form to understand how to input those prompts. Um, yeah, that's incredible. So is a lot of your work now just focused on engineering those prompts and helping customers leverage AI, or how have you shifted in your business?
Yeah, I mean, I've been blown away by it. Just thinking a year ago, for instance, a client was writing newsletters for, it might take a week to develop a few issues, whether researching, curating content, creating it all. I do that in, less than an hour with AI now. I'm collapsing workflows from like months into just days. And it's been just blowing me away on how much faster it can be. And a lot of that has just been from getting really good with prompt engineering, and learning what's possible with these AI tools at our disposal. ChatGPT in particular, with the Plus account and the third-party plugins they have available there, and getting really creative in ways that we can use those. But yeah, I pretty much would call myself more of a prompt engineer. Spitting out good copy based on, my role as an editor and my role as, a researching, engineer when it comes to prompting up front. That's definitely been a bit of a transition in such a short amount of time and how I work.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's pretty incredible what technology can do now, and the future of that is exciting and kind of scary on some level, but there's a lot to anticipate for that. Are you, when you look ahead to the future, or maybe even currently, are there other tools and things that you see coming into play with your business, or are you primarily focused on ChatGPT?
Yeah, ChatGPT has been the bread and butter for the type of work that I do. Not doing as much on the graphic design, not using Midjourney or DALL-E as much, but I mean DALL-E 3 is built right into GPT now. With ChatGPT. So it's been pretty cool, even just as a digital nomad, to be able to get a story told about a place I was visiting, and to even see a quick picture literally created by DALL-E, as well as the whole story told about what it might have been like in a small rural town in Thailand in the olden days, or something that, just the personal applications of ChatGPT too are blowing me away. And there's so many cool tools popping up that people are building on the back of these LLMs. And I think as we see things develop with smaller language models, with more, focused, trained data sets, that'll get really cool for, different enterprise applications. And it'll just be, blowing us away even more than it already is so quickly. Just a year since ChatGPT came out, and, the year I played with Jasper, Jarvis before that, they've just come so far. And I can only imagine how far they've got to come in some pretty short jumps ahead of us. Yeah, I'm excited. I think that, I think alignment is important. And as we look at, AGI, there's a lot to be considering on the ethical side of things, and what it means for us as humanity long term. But in the short term, I'm getting involved with it, seeing how I can utilize it to continue to drive the mission I'm working on with my work, to help grow my clients' income and impact, and think about aligning our use of these tools in a way that's ethical, and that's hopefully only for good in the future. But they're pretty cool to see what they're capable of doing right now.
Yeah. No, I think it's important to embrace the technological changes instead of being afraid of them. We got to lean in, because that's where the opportunity is to blow your business up in all the right ways. So I'm glad that we've been able to talk about that. It's just fascinating for me. So anyone listening out there, make sure you're jumping on these tools, but also make sure that you're working with someone like Trevor to make sure you're getting the prompts right. Let's talk about, part of the show is I like highlighting, how entrepreneurship has created freedom. We've already talked about kind of the digital nomad lifestyle that you created for yourself. I think that's amazing. That's really exciting for people as well. But what are maybe some other freedoms or some other unexpected benefits that you found being your own boss?
Yeah, I mean, I think the digital nomad lifestyle has encapsulated it pretty well. All the freedoms that come with that, from location independence to, time freedom in some ways, when cost of living is so much cheaper, and you've got that, geo arbitrage and spending in pesos or Thai baht and earning in dollars, really does give you the freedom to be able to work on projects that you're, excited by, to have the time and the space in your life to be able to really focus on developing a lifestyle that you love. Even just to be able to go out for lunch while I'm back in town, with some friends today at a moment's notice, not having to check in with the boss or to block time off or to leave an office or anything like that. It just created a lot more room for, I think, alignment for me personally. And now that's really a mission I want to see as I go into 2024 and helping others do the same, and just creating businesses and lives that they love, and having those two be in line, have your business serving you in that way. So yeah, those are the freedoms that I'm excited to keep building on, and continue seeing where we can explore things like AI and how we can keep developing in these ways for the future.
Yeah, I love it. Are there any negative downsides to being a digital nomad? I mean, things to look out for people that want to get into that.
For sure. Yeah, I won't glamorize it entirely, keeping it real. I just came back.
Sounds amazing.
30-hour. Yeah, it all sounds great, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows, of course. I had a 30-hour trip back from Thailand just the other day. I'm still jet lagged. I tweaked my neck after a bad sleep, but having to pay visits to the chiropractor now. So it has its downsides, of course. Catching up with friends in town, proximity makes such a big difference, and not being able to be close to those you love definitely can take its toll. But the real drawbacks, I think, are just those that come with being closer to family and having more routine, having more consistency in things. We move around pretty quickly, so you don't get the routine necessarily. You don't get the habits, to stack up on compounding for you in the same way with your changing locations every month or two. So a lot of those things I do miss and know the benefits of, and recognize that that's a trade-off that I was willing to make. And for the time being, it's still worthwhile. And I think I'll probably want to slow down a little bit more next year, because they do, add up, and like to be in a bit more of a season of focused work and being able to take it easy on my vacation a little bit. But aside from the impacts of too much holidaying, it's been a fun time for the most part.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had an amazing time, and truly you've built an incredible lifestyle going this route. I think there's so much to be said about being able to create the lifestyle that you want through entrepreneurship, and the fact that you've been able to do that is awesome. This conversation
doesn't have to be digital nomad life, for sure.
Right. Yeah. Right. You don't have to necessarily travel.
Just whatever way it works for you.
Yeah. This conversation has been so much fun, and I really appreciate you sharing everything about copywriting and that, the layers of that, how important it is for business. Where can people go to connect with you?
Yeah, it's been fun. People can go check out remotescalinglifestyle.com. That's, really what I'm trying to help build on more next year. Like we just said, it's all about being able to build a lifestyle that you could do remotely, could have a lifestyle, could be digital nomadic, or that could just mean having time to be hanging out at home and hanging with loved ones, whatever that looks like. So that's the brand I'm working on in 2024. And people can go head out there, join the newsletter for some more tips and tricks, AI tools I'm learning and playing with, and lessons I'm learning from working abroad and living this sort of way. People can hang out there and feel free to email me back for any questions, or if I can be of any value in any way.
That's awesome. Sounds like a lot of value there in that newsletter. We'll have the links to that in the show notes. So if you're listening, go there to find that and be able to connect with Trevor. What's your final message to our audience?
Yeah, I guess if there's anything we've really talked about here today, it would be to, like you just said, really embrace the technological changes we're having, embrace the evolutions we're having through society in these times, and to keep it rooted in values that, matter most for us. For me, that's trying to help people, grow a business and grow a life that you love, and trust that you can make it happen. And it's worth fighting for and pursuing, and stick with it to make it a reality.
I really appreciate that message. Thanks so much for being on the show. If you're listening out there, make sure you're subscribed on whatever platform you hear this on. Please share this content if it's been valuable. That helps us out a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks again, Trevor, for being here.
Thanks, Nita. Thanks, everyone.